Imagine this. You're staring at your phone at 11:47 p.m., replaying the last message you sent because the typing bubble showed up, then disappeared, and now your chest is tight. She was warm on Friday, distant on Sunday, and by Tuesday she's posting stories that feel like they're aimed at you. You tell yourself you're fine, but you're not fine. You're hooked, waiting for a hit of validation. That's the trap, not her. The trap is believing your worth depends on the reaction of someone who hasn't earned that power. Tonight, I'm going to pull you out of that loop and install habits that flip your gravity. Not tricks, not fake aloofness. Habits that make you a man whose presence is expensive, whose attention has weight, and whose emotions can't be farmed for free. Here's the first shift. Your attractiveness starts with disciplined self-respect. Not quotes on a wall, discipline. When she's inconsistent, you don't lecture, you don't plead, and you don't chase. You measure, then adjust your investment to match reality. If she takes 12 hours to reply, you're not replying in 12 minutes. Mirror pace without malice. If she cancels twice, you stop rescheduling. Say, no worries, reach out when your schedule opens up. Then leave it. This is not a performance, it's a boundary with teeth. The psychology is simple. People value what requires effort. When you reward inconsistency with more effort, you train her to give you less. When you reward respect with access and inconsistency with space, you train her to rise or release herself. Either outcome serves you. Second habit, purpose before pleasure. The most magnetic men are moving towards something bigger than a date. If she senses your calendar is built around her availability, she learns you have nothing else to lose. Women don't fall for vacancy, they orbit momentum. So build a life where your mornings are non-negotiable, your training is scheduled, your work blocks are protected, and your social circle lives outside her. Tactically, stop offering open-ended invites. Replace "When are you free?" with "I'm free Thursday, 7 to 9 near District 1. Join if you want." If she can't, you don't pitch 3 more options. You go live your plan. That single move communicates abundance and immunity to approval seeking. 2 signals that separate men from boys in seconds. Third habit, calm emotional regulation. You think it's your jokes, your jawline, your car. It's your nervous system. Anxiety bleeds neediness into your words, your timing, your micro pauses. When she withdraws, a late reply, a colder tone, the untrained man overcorrects. He sends longer messages, asks, "Is everything okay?" or tries to buy back connection with attention. She didn't ask for a therapist, she tested your center. Here's what you do instead. Install a 90-minute rule before responding to anything that spikes you. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. Repeat 10 times. Then reread the message with these questions. Is this a fact or a feeling? What action protects my energy? Often the answer is a shorter reply, offered later, with a clear invitation or a clean close. Example, she answers your invite with a vague maybe. You respond the next day. All good. I'm locking plans. Another time. No resentment, no sarcasm. Indifference is not cruelty. It's clarity without emotional subsidy. Fourth habit, calibrated curiosity. You ask sharp questions early, not to interrogate, but to observe alignment. What does a great weekend look like for you? What's your relationship with your exes like? What do you do when you're upset? Shut down or talk it out? You're not trying to win her. You're qualifying if your values fit. The tactic is to listen for patterns, not promises. If she glamorizes chaos, jokes about tests, or admits she punishes with silence, believe her. You don't argue with the data. You adjust the dosage of your attention or you exit. Attraction without standards is a self-made heartbreak. Now, let's talk about the withdrawal game. Some women use distance as leverage because it has worked on untrained men. The cues: warmth followed by unexplained cold, last-minute flaking with a flirty apology, vague boundaries that expand when you pursue them and shrink when you stabilize. The trap is your ego. You need to fix the shift so you chase. Break the pattern with the 2-strike rule. First flake, grace and a reset. Second flake, you step back, no confrontation. You reduce contact, stop initiating, and if she resurfaces, you require initiative. Pick a time that works for you and book it. If she doesn't, she wasn't that interested. If she does, the frame is restored. This isn't a game. It's quality control. The internal cost of ignoring these habits is heavy. You'll become a man of apologetic texts and restless nights, bargaining with yourself to tolerate disrespect you'd never advise your friend to accept. Your body will memorize that stress, and your future self will pay with resentment. The shift begins when you realize attention is a currency, and you've been spending like a lottery winner. Detachment is how you budget. You can be warm, charming, generous, and disciplined. You can care and still walk away. In fact, that paradox is where your attractiveness spikes. A man capable of deep feeling who refuses to be emotionally hijacked. Have you ever recognized yourself in that late-night overthinking loop, waiting for a reply that would calm you down? Which of these habits feels most uncomfortable for you to practice this week, and why? What's the hardest part of not chasing when you feel her pulling away? You think attraction is built when you're talking to her? It isn't. It's built when you're not. It's built in the decisions you make when no one's watching. What you eat at 7 a.m., whether you went to the gym when you didn't feel like it, whether you sat in silence for 10 minutes instead of doom scrolling. That's where your self-command hardens, and that command is the invisible signal every interaction carries. A man who governs himself doesn't beg to govern a conversation. He doesn't rush to fill silence or fight to fix a mood. He lets things be, and because he can let them be, people lean in. Start here. Your texting discipline. Set a policy and treat it like law. You respond when you're calm, not when you're triggered. You send messages that create movement, not meandering reassurance seeking. Invite, clarify, or close. Free Thursday 7-9 at L'Atelier. Join if you want. She says, maybe. You say, cool, locking other plans. Another time. She goes cold for a week and returns with, hey stranger. You don't reward the breadcrumb with instant sugar. You reply when it fits your life. Good to hear from you. What are you looking for this week? Now you've shifted the energy from chasing to qualifying. If she's casual and chaotic, she'll show it. If she's sincere, she'll step into specifics. Either way, you're not stuck guessing in limbo, you're filtering. Understand tests for what they are. Not puzzles to solve, but frames to keep. A test is any behavior that tries to move you from leader to follower in your own life. Delayed replies, teasing comments about other guys, sudden mood shifts after you set a boundary. These are not invitations to plead, they're invitations to stand still. When she mentions another man to spark your insecurity, you don't compete, you go neutral. Sounds like you've got options. I'm selective too. Then change the topic or end the chat. If she escalates with jealousy plays or triangulation, mentions an ex, quotes a friend who has an opinion about you, don't defend a reputation to a jury that doesn't exist. You shut the court down. I don't entertain third-party drama. If you want to see me, choose a time. It's blunt. That's the point. You refuse to fund manipulation with attention. Love bombing is the opposite trap. Accelerated intimacy, heavy compliments, future talk in week 2. It feels great, especially if you've been starving. But healthy connection has rhythm, not whiplash. You regulate the pace by anchoring to time and actions. She says, I've never felt this way so quickly. You reply, let's give it time to prove itself. Then you maintain your schedule. Keep your gym, your work, your friends. Do not compensate with extra availability to match her energy. If it's real, it will still be there after a few sober weeks. If it's fantasy, the bubble pops when you don't inflate it. You didn't lose anything. You just didn't rent your soul to a mood swing. Now the body signals, because your presence speaks before your words arrive. Stand with weight evenly on your feet, shoulders down and back, chin level. Hold eye contact just past comfortable, then glance away slowly. Never dart. Speak slower than you think you should, especially when you're disagreeing. A man rushing to blurt his point is a man pleading to be heard. A man pausing is a man assuming he will be. When she interrupts, you don't fight for airtime. You stop talking and let silence do the social work. Then finish your sentence without apology. Your standards must live in your calendar and your actions, not your captions. A practical rule: non-response to disrespect. If she insults you, attaches names to your character, or mocks your goals, you don't write a paragraph about your worth. You remove access. That doesn't work for me. Take care. Then you block or step away. Another rule: the 3-message window. If you ask a direct question twice and get 2 vague answers, you stop asking. You communicate once more with an exit. No worries, let's skip. You train people how to treat you by how you end things. not only how you start them. Overinvestment is mostly arithmetic. You can measure it. Who initiates more? Who confirms plans? Who adjusts logistics? If the answer is me, across the board for 2 weeks, you're bleeding leverage. Pull back 30 to 50% for 7 days. Don't announce it. Just reallocate that energy into your training, finances, skill building, and social depth with men you respect. Watch if she fills the gap. If she doesn't, your ego was doing CPR on a dead interest. If she does, you created polarity by recentering your life. That's not a trick, it's a correction. Here's a field drill for detachment. Schedule one challenge per week that makes you uncomfortable without risking your values. Cold plunge at dawn, sparring session, speech at an open mic, a high-stakes sales call, or a difficult conversation you've delayed. You're not chasing adrenaline. You're calibrating your nervous system to intensity so a delayed text doesn't feel like a crisis. Another drill. The walk-away rehearsal. Pick a scenario you fear. She pulls away after you say no. She flirts with others in front of you. She demands access to your time without reciprocity. And write the exact one-sentence response you would use. Practice it out loud until it fits your mouth. When reality hits, you won't improvise from panic. You'll execute from preparation. Which of these boundary scripts made you flinch because you know you've avoided saying it? When was the last time you rewarded a breadcrumb with a banquet? What did it cost you? If you pulled back 30% this week, what would you fill that space with that actually builds you? There's a moment every man remembers. You're on the date, it's going well, then the air shifts. She leans back, glances at her phone, and your stomach drops. You start performing. You reach for another joke, a bigger story, a louder version of yourself. That's when attraction bleeds out. Women aren't repelled by quiet. They're repelled by the panic behind noise. Your habit here is simple. Trade performance for presence. Presence means you notice the shift and you don't chase it. You slow your breath, take a sip of water, hold eye contact, and ask a grounded question that moves the frame to truth. You just pulled back. What happened? Say it calmly, not accusingly. If she's testing, she'll recalibrate. If she's distracted, she'll own it. If she's disinterested, you get clarity without begging. That line is a scalpel. It cuts through the theater quickly. Frame is the invisible story about what's happening between you. Most men surrender it because they mistake agreement for connection. Connection isn't agreement, it's alignment plus tension. Your job is to keep the story clean. Two adults getting to know each other, not a contestant trying to qualify. Tactically, you lead logistics, not emotions. Let's do Tuesday at Villa, 7:30. We'll keep it to an hour. You set time boundaries on purpose. If the date's great, you choose to extend. If not, you exit with grace. Don't stack 3 venues trying to force chemistry. Scarcity fuels magnetism. You leave at a high note and you let her feel the absence of you, not the exhaustion of you. Some women deploy guilt as glue. You seem distant. After you held a boundary, or I guess I'm not a priority, when you didn't bend your calendar. Do not defend with an essay. Affirm, clarify, and recenter. I like you. I also guard my time. If that doesn't work for you, I understand. This sounds cold to men trained to apologize for having a backbone, but your calm certainty is the thing she's actually scanning for. If she respects it, attraction rises. If she resents it, you've met a control pattern. Withdraw politely. The habit is refusing to be emotionally invoiced for living by your values. Sex is another arena where neediness leaks. You think agreeing to everything increases intimacy. It doesn't. Intimacy requires edges. You decide your standards. What you do, when you do it, what exclusivity means for you, what health checks and protection look like, and how you handle morning-after communication. Speak them plainly before heat scrambles your judgment. I'm not sleeping with multiple people. If we go there, I expect honesty and exclusivity. If that's not your pace, we can keep it light. That one paragraph will repel the chaotic and attract the serious without moralizing. Post-intimacy. Don't flutter with attention to prove you're a good guy. Send one warm message the next day and then let rhythm dictate contact. Clinginess after sex is how men unconsciously bargain for reassurance. Stand on your feet. Triangulation is a classic manipulation. She constantly references a guy friend, an ex, or a coworker who just gets her. The weak frame competes. The strong frame reframes or exits. Sounds like you have good support. I'm not interested in a triangle. Then stop giving it oxygen. If it persists, you scale back access or end it. Another pattern: hot-cold cycles tied to your availability. She's sweetest when you're busy, distant when you're open. Don't dance to that rhythm. Keep your cadence steady, consistent, not needy. Your steadiness will either regulate her or reveal instability. Either way, you win by staying boringly reliable to yourself. When conflict hits, your habit is to lead repair without offering your dignity as a sacrifice. If she shuts down, you don't pry open a locked door. You set a time to revisit. I care about this. Let's talk tomorrow at 7 when we're both clear. If she insults or demeans, you hold an immediate line. I don't do disrespect. We can talk when we're both calm. Then you end the interaction. After, you do not chase to prove you're not angry. You let space do its job. When you reconnect, you bring structure. Here's what I heard. Here's where I'm wrong. Here's what I need. What about you? Men who can contain conflict earn a trust that romance alone can't buy. Purpose keeps you from becoming a pastime. Build visible momentum. A project with deadlines, a training cycle with a goal, financial targets on a board where you can see them. Talk about what you're building without bragging and then disappear to go build it. She should feel that dating you means entering a moving current, not dragging a raft across dry land. Practical tip: end your nights at a reasonable hour even when you want to linger. Tell her why. I'm up at 6 to train. Your discipline is the sexiest part of your story because it implies a future she can trust. Finally, learn to leave well. Most men either ghost from cowardice or explode from resentment. You'll exit with elegance and finality. I like you and enjoyed this. Our styles don't align. Wishing you the best. Block the channels you need to block. Not to punish, so you don't relapse into cycles. Emotional sobriety is the habit underneath all the habits. You stop using women to regulate your feelings. That's the quiet revolution. Ironically, it makes you irresistible because your warmth is now a gift, not a plea. When was the last time you felt the air shift on a date and began performing? What did you do, and how would you handle it now? Which boundary line in this part is hardest for you to hold without explaining yourself? If you had to leave one situation cleanly this week, what exact sentence would you use? You keep thinking charisma is some rare gene, when in reality it's a set of habits that steady your energy in rooms where most men wobble. Picture this. She arrives 10 minutes late. Breezy apology, eyes scanning the room, still on her phone. Your heart wants to prove you're unfazed, so you make jokes, overcompensate, signal no problem. But your body knows the cost. A small self-betrayal that teaches her tardiness has no price. Attractive men assign prices. You don't punish, you calibrate. You greet warmly, you don't mention the time, and you end the date at the original time regardless. If she's late by 20 minutes, the date is 40 minutes, not an hour. I've got a hard out at 8. You keep that promise to yourself. Next time, punctuality tends to improve because your behavior made reality visible. That's leadership without lectures. Understand intermittent reinforcement because it's the hook that keeps you circling dead orbit. The cycle goes: she's intensely warm, then distant, then sprinkles crumbs when you pull away. Your nervous system confuses unpredictability with importance, so you start chasing a pattern, not a person. Break it with steady routines and clear thresholds. Create a written rule. 2 invitations without initiative from her equals. Pause. No third ask. If she resurfaces, you require specificity. Time, place, and confirmation. If she returns with, "We'll see," you don't negotiate with fog. I plan in advance. If you want to meet, choose a day that works. Then you vanish back into your life. You're not cold, you're sober. Compliments are currency. Spend them strategically. Early on, avoid complimenting static traits: beauty, body, style. Compliment choices and character, effort, punctuality, kindness to service staff, clarity when you set plans. I like how direct you are. That signals what you value and guides future behavior far more than you're gorgeous. If she tests with self-deprecation fishing for reassurance, "I look terrible tonight," skip the bait. I invited you because I enjoy your company. Ready to eat? You're not withholding. You're refusing to participate in a script that trains you to be a validation vendor. Escalation isn't only physical. It's presence, touch, truth, and tension in sequence. You escalate by revealing small truth first. I'm selective with my time. When she stays, escalate touch grounded in consent. Light touch on the forearm as you laugh, then withdraw first. If she reciprocates, you lead lightly. If she doesn't, you don't keep probing. You slow down and enjoy the conversation. The attractive man doesn't push. He invites and reads data. If you sense genuine chemistry, escalate honesty. I like this. I also move slowly because I respect my future. Chemistry without structure becomes chaos. Structure without chemistry becomes an interview. You're aiming for both. Digital hygiene is a battlefield most men lose. Unfollow the accounts that weaponize your insecurity. If your feed is engineered to provoke comparison, you'll enter each date already in deficit. Set your phone to do not disturb during time blocks and dates. Turn off read receipts. Prevent yourself from impulse texting by using drafts. Write the emotional message in notes, wait 20 minutes, then compress it into one sentence or delete it. You're designing friction so that your future self isn't sabotaged by your current adrenaline. That's not paranoia, that's governance. Watch how she treats no. Your no is the clearest measure of her respect. Say no to a last-minute plan that bulldozes your evening routine. Say no to a conversation that starts at midnight when you're up at 6. Say no to sharing passwords, to skipping the gym, to abandoning a friend. You'll see who she really is when she meets your edge. A woman who values you will negotiate, offer alternatives, or accept. A woman who wants control will guilt trip or escalate. Your tactic is simple. Don't convert your no into a maybe because she pouts. You can empathize with her feeling and still refuse the request. I get that you want to talk now. I'm off for the night. Tomorrow at 7 works. Then you disappear. If she punishes with silence, you don't bribe with attention. You let the silence be her choice and your clarity. Inner circle matters. If your closest men normalize neediness, gossip, and emotional outsourcing, you'll default to that under pressure. Build a brotherhood that resists your weakness while honoring your heart. Schedule standing commitments with men who train hard, build things, and tell you the truth. It's easier to detach from manipulation when your life already contains meaning. A woman should be a chapter in your story, not the author of your identity. This is not anti-love, it's pro-sanity. When jealousy hits you, yes, it hits everyone, treat it like weather, not a verdict. Don't announce it, don't accuse, and don't investigate like a detective in a cheap movie. Convert jealousy into a clarity request. I like exclusivity when intimacy starts. Where are you? If she evades, you downgrade access. If she answers clearly but behavior contradicts, you act on behavior. Attraction built on fantasy dies in discovery daylight. You choose daylight early. Money and gifts. Stop buying connection. Split basics on early dates or pay without broadcasting. Never pay to fix a mood. If she expects lifestyle without loyalty, you'll fund your own disrespect. Your policy. Your resources follow reciprocity. You invest in people who invest in you. That's adult, not stingy. Last, protect your attention like it's oxygen because it is. Create a morning ritual that can't be negotiated, even by your favorite person. Hydrate, move, plan, read, breathe. Start the day with wins you control, so the rest of the day doesn't get to decide your worth. You'll walk into interactions with a charged battery instead of an empty cup begging for a sip. Which of these prices have you been afraid to set because you thought you'd lose her? What happened when you didn't? Where do you most feel the pull of intermittent reinforcement, and how will you interrupt it this week? What's one no you're going to deliver in the next 48 hours to realign your life? There's a specific itch that makes men do stupid things. The need to be understood immediately. You explain, justify, and plead for her to see where you're coming from, as if clarity is a birthright. It isn't. Clarity is earned by calm action over time. The attractive man doesn't litigate his character in real time. He demonstrates it in short, consistent patterns. That means when you say you'll call at 8, you call at 8. When you can't, you say so before 8 and reset. That means you don't flirt wildly online and then preach exclusivity. You remove behaviors that blur the picture you're asking her to see. Tactically, hold a 30-day audit. For 1 month, remove sarcasm and conflict, stop passive-aggressive jokes, and stop vague posts designed to trigger a reaction. Replace each with one direct sentence: what you feel, what you need, what you'll do. Watch how quickly drama evaporates when you stop feeding it interpretations to chew on. Let's drill withdrawal as control, because it's subtle. She goes quiet after you hold a boundary. Not forever, just long enough to make you doubt yourself. The untrained reaction is to soften the boundary or chase reassurance. The trained move is to stabilize and mirror adult behavior. You keep your routine, maintain a light baseline of availability, and refuse to initiate apology tours. If she resurfaces like nothing happened, you don't punish, you anchor. I'm open to keep seeing each other. I also need straightforward communication when you're upset. Then you pause. If she engages, great. If she deflects or repeats the pattern, you scale back frequency or exit. The key is tying access to accountability, not to mood. Here's a hard truth. Many men don't get disrespected because women are cruel. They get disrespected because they won't leave. Detachment is the leverage that keeps your standards alive. Write an exit criterion before feelings get loud. Lying once and denying is a deal breaker. Yelling or name-calling is a 30-day probation with counseling or it's over. Repeated flaking moves to friends only. These are adult policies, not temper tantrums. Then you must enforce them without spectacle. The moment you make your boundary a performance, threats, dramatic speeches, social media quotes, you cheapen it and invite negotiation. Quiet enforcement teaches faster than loud disappointment. Now, the nice guy wound. You believe being agreeable is kindness. It isn't. Agreeableness without boundaries is self-erasure, and self-erasure breeds resentment, then passive sabotage. Kindness with a spine looks different. You open doors, you tip well, you listen fully, and you disagree promptly when your values are touched. You protect her from your anger by telling the truth early, not by swallowing it for 6 months and detonating. The tactic is early friction. When something misaligns, you name it in a sentence, not a sermon. I felt dismissed when you joked about my work. I take that seriously. Then stop. Jealousy tests can be turned into loyalty architectures. If she notices your composure and pokes, you don't get jealous? The low-value answer is to prove you care by acting possessive. The high-value answer is to define your container. I value trust and exclusivity when intimacy starts. I don't chase or compete. If we're aligned, great. If not, we don't force it. Then you maintain easy warmth. You've just communicated that access to your depth requires standards, not surveillance. She either meets you there or self-selects out. Either path protects your peace. Status anxiety is a silent killer. You feel small next to her social reach or beauty, so you compensate with performance purchases, bragging, or excessive generosity. None of that buys respect. It buys expectation. Solve status anxiety at the root. Competence. Pick one domain and become materially better at it within 90 days. Public speaking, sales calls, design, BJJ, coding, carpentry, whatever builds real, transferable confidence. Showcase progress, not perfection. Competence is attractive because it signals you can turn intention into results, and women instinctively sort for that. Make your life a proof of work chain. Visible reps, visible outcomes. Conflict navigation separates boys from men. When she comes in hot, you never listen. Most men attack or retreat. Do neither. Disarm, narrow, and propose. I want to hear you. Tell me one recent example so I can fix the pattern. Then shut up and listen. When she gives it, reflect back exactly. So when I checked my phone during dinner, you felt sidelined. Then propose a concrete behavior. Phone stays face down during meals. That's it. You don't need to win the meta argument about always and never. You need to install one behavior that prevents the next fight. Repeat that cycle 3 times and her body will learn safety with you. Safety, not approval, is the foundation of deep attraction. Your frame with family and friends matters too. If her sister, friend, or coworker encroaches with disrespect, digging questions, undermining jokes, you don't spar. You redirect or exit. I'm not discussing that. Let's keep it light. If it continues, you remove yourself from those environments more often. You're not isolating her. You're refusing to be the entertainment for other people's boredom. She'll clock the difference. Women notice when a man refuses to be domesticated by social pressure. It reads as strength because it is. There's also the quiet art of appreciation. Not the theatrical grand gestures, but targeted gratitude that rewards the behavior you want repeated. I noticed you confirmed the reservation early. That's rare and I appreciate it. Or, thanks for being patient while I handled that call. It matters. Appreciation without neediness is catnip because it says, I see you, not please keep liking me. The tactic. Every time she does something aligned, initiates plans, shows kindness under stress, respects your time. You tag it with a short, specific acknowledgement. You're training for excellence without playing the parent. Lastly, rehearse solitude. Spend a weekend alone on purpose. No dating apps, no flirty DMs, no emergency visits to exes. Cook, train, build, read, plan, and sit with the discomfort that rises. If you cannot be with yourself, you will bargain your standards in exchange for company. The man who is comfortable in silence can selectively welcome noise without fearing its departure. That composure is the final habit. Your attention is a feast, and you invite selectively. Which exit criterion have you avoided writing because you fear you'll have to use it? What would it be if you were honest? When did you turn a boundary into a performance instead of a quiet policy? How did that play out? If you practiced solitude next weekend, what would your 48-hour plan actually look like? You've been told to be confident, but no one told you confidence is a byproduct, not a pose. It comes from a ledger that only you can see. Promises kept with yourself, reps done in private, boundaries enforced when it would have been easier to fold. A woman can sense that ledger within 30 seconds. The man who has done the work radiates a stillness that doesn't beg. He laughs slower, decides cleaner, and his yes has the gravity of a signed contract. That energy is irresistible because it signals safety without compliance. You're safe to be near, yet far from controllable. This is the final habit that threads all others together. Sovereignty. Not the chest-thumping kind, the monk-warrior kind. You walk into a room with nothing to prove and everything to protect. Sovereignty looks like the way you hold your calendar. You defend the mornings where you stack your identity. Sweat, skill, silence. You schedule hard things before pleasure and keep them there. It looks like the way you honor your word when no one would know you slipped. When you tell her you'll arrive at 7:30 and traffic snarls, you text at 7, running 10 late. Adjusting the end time so I still hit my 9 p.m. cutoff. You don't apologize for having a cutoff. You protect it because you respect the man who has to wake up tomorrow. It looks like the way you metabolize rejection without rewriting your worth. She doesn't choose you. You grieve briefly, then you move. You don't vandalize your self-concept to match her choice. There is a quiet brutality to modern dating because attention is cheap and intimacy is expensive. The algorithm trains you to confuse the former for the latter. Your counterstrike is expensive attention, rare, focused, and conditional on respect. You don't scroll her stories for context, you create your own context by writing your next chapter. You don't comment on her thirst traps, you thirst for mastery in your craft. You don't beg for closure from someone who already showed you who they are, you close the door yourself and lock it from your side. The paradox is that this austerity produces warmth. You can be generous because you're not bled dry. You can be playful because you're not performing. You can be intimate because your edges keep the container from spilling. Stop outsourcing masculine peace to feminine approval. Let admiration be a bonus, not your food. If you're hungry for applause, you'll bargain for it by shrinking, performing, or paying. Nourish yourself with disciplines that don't clap back. Lifting a heavier bar, making a cleaner sail, writing a sharper paragraph, mastering a harder guard pass. Stack indisputable wins until your nervous system stops flinching at someone else's mood. That's the rewiring most men never do. They change their language but keep their dependency. You're different. You will starve the dependency until it dies and feed the discipline until it lives. Understand that kindness and standards must live in the same house. You can be soft in tone and steel in decision. You can hold her while you hold your line. You can listen fully and still say no. Women feel the difference between male niceness that hides fear and male kindness that flows from strength. The first curdles into resentment, the second compounds into trust. Trust is not built by agreeing. It is built by being consistent enough that your disagreement doesn't feel like abandonment. That's why you do what you say you'll do, and that's why you leave when your policies are violated. Not to punish, but to protect the temple that your life is becoming. Here's your marching order. Audit your inputs, tighten your policies, and make your life undeniably attractive to you. Replace "I hope she texts" with "I owe myself a session." Replace "I need this to work" with "I refuse to force what's misaligned." Replace "she's the one" with "I am the one who chooses well." Your new baseline is calm pursuit, not frantic grasping. You pursue what aligns, you sample what's potential, and you ruthlessly dismiss what siphons your power. That's not cynicism, that's stewardship. There will be moments when the old you screams, when she withholds, when she flaunts options, when your no is tested by silence. You will feel the itch to perform, to over-explain, to send the paragraph. You won't. You'll breathe, ground your feet, and return to your policies. You'll ask one clear question or you'll end the exchange. You'll pick up your life where you put it down. And you'll notice something. The world rearranges around men who refuse to negotiate their dignity. The right women step closer, the wrong women drift, and your heart finally sits down inside your chest like it found its home. Now, before we close, I want you to be ruthlessly honest with yourself in the comments. When did you last sell out your standard to keep someone who wasn't keeping you? What exact moment did you cross yourself? Which habit from this series stung because you know it exposes your pattern? What specific boundary or policy will you enforce in the next 7 days? And what line will you speak word for word when it's tested? You're not becoming cold, you're becoming clear. You're not running from love, you're refusing to call chaos love. The man you're building is not anti-woman. He is pro-truth, pro-boundary, pro-purpose. He is a shelter, not a cage. He is play, not performance. He is generosity, not appeasement. And when you live like that, you don't chase gravity. You become it. Let the world feel the difference. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.